Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello guys, my name is Puti Fernanda Takia. Here I will to tell you my result of article summary. Okay, let's get started. Okay guys, this is my compilation article that I read. And you can see all my article compilation. Okay, for the first article is speak out your interest kit way to enhance speaking skill. The writer from this article, the name is Siti Noor Azillah Abdullah, Harwati Hashim, and Syar Meeze Muhammad Rashid. Date published from this for this article is 2021. Okay, for the purpose from this article is to see the effectiveness of the application of Pinterest in the learning process, namely to improve communication and critical thinking skill for ESL students, as well as providing solutions for students who have problems with their communication skills. The finding for this article is the first one because of the implementation of Pinterest, it allows students to express themselves in communicating. 2. The application of the Pinterest can issue new ideas, and this makes students' creativity more widespread. 3. Learning using thinking trains students to think critically. The result from this article is the application of learning process activities using Pinterest really give good result in improving student abilities and skill. With the implementation of Pinterest, it is able to facilitate students to expand their thinking more critically and creatively and be able to improve their ability to develop new ideas they have. Okay, the next is application used in distance education in English language classroom. The writer for this article, the name is Omer Faruk Ipek and Zafer Ustubans. That published for this article is 2021. Okay, the purpose for this article is namely to use or utilize technology as a face-to-face learning medium during a pandemic. It is a bit painful to hold a face-to-face learning process, but this provides many benefits, namely it can save time for teachers and students in carrying out their daily activities, acquire a new language items in a different and unique way, and have higher motivation than before. Okay, for the finding from this article is by doing this online learning, it can introduce applications that are commonly used in learning. And of course, this application can improve student English skills. Okay, for the result from this article is with the introduction of four applications that are used in the learning process, it has a good impact on students in improving their English skills. The four applications used in learning media are Puzzle, Quick Grip, Padlet, and Quizlet. And for the benefit of these four applications are Puzzle is that it help teachers save time in preparing their visual material for their students. Second, and the next is Field Grip. Field Grip is useful for facilitating oral production. And the next is benefit of this Padlet are introduction, class discussion, generating various ideas, writing stories and experience, and open-ended question. And the last, the benefit of this Quizlet is that it can be used in language teachings because it trains students' abilities in learning new vocabulary and increase their motivation for learning activities. And the next is learning Japanese through anime. The writer from this article is the name is Yee-Han Chan. and Ngan-Ling Wong. And for the date published for this article is 2017. Okay, for the purpose from this article is to increase students' interest in learning Japanese, but through anime as a learning medium. In addition, the author wants to find new features in learning Japanese. So the purpose of this research is because the authors see that the GFL students have not used this anime feature as their learning medium in improving Japanese language skills. Okay, for the finding, this article is the first one is using anime as a learning medium can give good result for GFL students in improving their Japanese language skills. 2. Using anime as a learning medium makes students enthusiastic and motivated. And last, learning using anime makes students familiar with various culture and traditions that exist in Japan. And the reason for this article is learning using anime give a good result for GFL students in improving their skills and make it easier for them to understand Japanese language learning through anime. This anime has become a very significant presence in most Japanese language learners and has also become part of the responsibility of Japanese language educator to dispel language and culture stereotypes in anime. And it is very clear why anime should be introduced in the FL classes, not only because it can serve as a good learning tool, but also to increase student awareness of the language and culture stereotype that exist in anime. The next is the influence of English translate manga to student English reading comprehension. The writer name is Wahyu Budi, and for the date published is 2020. And for the purpose for this article is namely to improve student reading ability because many students have difficult understanding the content of the story, plot, and so on. Then the author wants to use manga as a new learning method to attract students' interest in reading, and the author feels that this manga will have a good impact on students' English skills. And the finding for this article is the first one, the use of manga as a new learning medium has good result in increased students' interest in practicing their English skill through this manga. 2. The application of this learning method makes students understand English quickly because in this manga there are very exciting and interesting pictures. The reason for this article is the application of learning using English Translate manga can bring greater change to students' reading abilities. And it can be proven that there is an increase, namely the high interest in reading students caused by the English translation of manga, and their understanding of reading is also increasing because of the introduction of this English translate manga as a new learning method. The next is the role of reading in English language classroom. The writer name is Aldiana Lalicic and Vildana Dubravac. The published for this article is 2021. Okay, the purpose for this article is that is to investigate students' reading habit and interest, their reading frequency, their favorite reading material, and their goals in reading. The finding for this article, this important role of reading in learning English has a good impact on students to practice their reading speed and increase their interest in reading habits. And the reason for this article is the writer conducted quantitative research methods. The result of this sixth graph show that 52.63% of students strongly agree that their purpose of reading is to improve their communicative skills. While and for those who are agree have the percentage as the strongly agree. Their purpose of reading is for learning such as exam, excitement, and so on. And for the final result, which is 36.84%. These are students who think that reading is a hobby. The next is the problem young learners encountered during listening skills. The writer name is Hande Yilmaz and Fatih Yafuz. And for the that published is 2015. Okay, for the purpose is namely to improve student listening skills. In addition, it helps them in overcoming various problems they face in listening skill. And lastly, teach them how and strategies when dealing with the listening skills. And the finding for this article, it shows that there are still many students who are difficulty overcoming the things that are in this listening. So for that, it is very important for us to provide various exercises through technology media that are commonly used in listening learning. And the reason for this article is the method used in this study is a questionnaire method. The writer divided into four groups, namely group A, B, and C. The first group is group A, so that 33% of students choose answer D. The content of their statement is I cannot understand clearly because the speaker in the song speaks so fast. And the second is group B, so that the 41% of students choose answer A. The reason is being that they needed practice and input in doing listening exercises. And finally, group C showed that 32% of students choose answer C. The content of their statement is I know the words, but I can immediately remember them when I hear them. The next is using the concept of game-based learning in education. The writer name is Siu Liu, Zafer Ahmad Sahid, and Farida Gajizova. Their published is 2020. And the purpose is namely to attract and motivate students to solve certain problems. Besides that, they can expand their learning knowledge. They will think learning is fun. Ideas will develop in learning through games, and they will become more strategic about carrying out learning activities. And the finding for this article is so that learning using this game has a good impact on students in improving their learning abilities quickly. Game-based learning can increase students' interest in learning to be higher because students feel quite interested in this learning method. And the reason for this article is the method used in this research is the questionnaire method. And for the result, it showed that 88.5% considered that this learning method was interesting. And it is a good result of using games as a new learning method for students. The next is an analysis of student motivation and attitudes towards learning Japanese language as a foreign language in secondary school in Sri Lanka. The writer name is Madhubhasini Deldenia, Ali Khotibi, and S.M. Ferdous Azam. The published is 2018. And the purpose is namely to increase student motivation and attitudes in learning Japanese, in addition to provide knowledge to teachers on how they can understand the attitude of these GFL students and their type of motivation. The finding for this article show that the analysis of the student motivation and attitudes towards learning Japanese as a foreign language has a major influence on secondary school in Sri Lanka. In addition, it also contributes knowledge to GFL's teachers to understand the attitude of GFL students and the type of motivation they have. The reason for this article is the method used in this study is a complex probability sampling method, and as a result, 93.4% of students attend additional classes to learn Japanese in addition to school education. Them, 45.2% of students agree that they want to get a better career opportunities in the future, and 40.4% of students are eager to visit Japan to seek higher studies. 3.3% choose Japanese because they want to live in Japan later, and while 1.5% of students enjoy interacting or communicating with Japanese people. 4.4% of students wanted to learn more about existing Japanese culture, and last, 91.2% of the participants state that they would continue to study Japanese. They will continue to improve their Japanese even after leaving schools. The next is influence of song in primary school students' motivation for learning English in Lima, Peru. The writer name is Diego Aguirre, Daisy Bustinza, and Misael Garfix. That published is 2016. And for the purpose is namely to tell that the influence of sound in learning English can have a good impact on students, which can provide motivation and influence in improving their English language skills. And this learning method is very useful for teachers in providing fun learning to their students. The finding for this article is so that learning to use music has a good influence on students in improving their English language skills. Moreover, this can also train their listening skill to be better because they are always accustomed to listening to music every time they do in the learning process. The result for this article is the method used in this study is a mixed method, namely quantitative and qualitative. And the result is, namely, listening and singing song increased from 29 to 57% in Class A and from 36 to 50% in Class B. And for those who watch videos and movie, increased from 21% to 46%, and, and from 29 to 39 in each class. For conversational audio, people taking on the radio and etc. increased slightly from 18% to 21%, and from 25% to 39%. The last is the impact of the problem-based learning on Iranian EFL learners' speaking proficiency. Writer name is Loman Ansaria, Ali Akbar Adipur, Memus Akafan Saber, and Elmia Safiei. The published is 2016. And the purpose is namely to help EFL Iranian students who have difficult understanding this speaking proficiency. So for that, the authors wants to help students improve their speaking skill and overcome their problem in learning speaking proficiency. In addition, the authors want to investigate the effect of PBL on student speaking proficiency learning. The finding this article is show that the influence of PBL on student speaking proficiency has a good impact on students in improving their speaking proficiency. And for the result this article is for the research method used the auto conduct an IELTS test for Iranian students. And for the result, it showed that 1600 participants were good in control, while 1800 participants were good in experimental. This is the result of the table quantitative data analysis for the proficiency test, quantitative data analysis for the first research question, and so on. Okay, I think that's all from me. Thus I say wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you for watching.